Well, this is what it's come to because we can't really come out and see y'all in person the way that we'd like to. So tomorrow is Debbie's birthday. I just found out a minute ago. So make sure that you hit her up on Facebook and let her know how much you appreciate her.
Oh, look.
Yeah, look at that. Birthday flowers.
Birthday flowers from George's daughter Grace and her fiance Jim.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Now, in hockey, they call the 6 original teams in the NHL, they call them the original 6. George is one of the original 5.
Original 5.
George is one of the original 5. And so I know you guys, like I said, we're not really able to come out and see you in person, so we're coming to see George and just, chat for a little bit so you guys can, feel like you're not missing anything.
Ask me anything.
I put a post up on Facebook that I was coming to see you, and I've got 3 pages of folks who wanted me to tell you things.
Okay.
Charlie Bambino says, send George our best. Dennis Werner said, tell him hello and best wishes from all of us. Mike Gilligan, Doug Altman, Jim McCabe, Kenny Stuckio, Charles Early said George was the backbone of the group. Obviously Mary and Rusty said hello.
Nice.
Debbie in New Jersey. Daniel Vogan said you're better than Ringo. Gary Byrne says hello. Jim Newman says hello. Said George is an amazing drummer and his harmonies are part of what made Poco Poco. Rick Trotter said I love George. Quinn Warwick, Sean Patrick Algum, Mike Miller, Gigi Kulik. Fran King said, please give George our regards. Jane Elizabeth Haynes. James Massa said, George has always been my favorite member of Poco.
Thank you so much.
Doug Poor, Ed Turner, Sean Kevins, Michelle Lonier, Dennis Whelan said, make sure you tell George and Debbie hello for me. Steve Venice says, George was the backbone of Poco for many years, and everything I've heard and read says he's a good man as well. Bill Ryder, Don Uzar says, long live George. Ellen Belkey, Bill Malkin, Ray Sikora said, I don't know if George ever realized how much the fans loved his contribution to Poco. His playing was not only solid but refreshing. Ronnie Roach said, George is one of my favorite drummers of all time. Michael Meyer says his drumming on High and Dry on Western Waterloo is superb. Bob Ryan says you were a huge part of what made Poco work. Rick Quinn, Michael Coate, Jeff Finowitz. Mike Brisky says you're a longtime hero. Dan Luther, Jim Giordano said you were always his favorite band member. It goes on and on and on.
So kind.
Tons of that sort of thing.
I really appreciate that.
So, I know that, under the current circumstances with everybody kind of being, hunkered down at home, that sometimes it's easy to feel cut off from people, but there are a lot of people out there that love you, brother. A lot of people that love you.
Man. I love them right back, I'll tell you.
So I collected a couple of questions and stuff like that a couple of folks wanted to put out there, and a lot of this is mine too, because I know we get to talk a lot, but not as much as we'd like. Like it says in the song, there were 2 from Colorado. That was you and Rusty.
Right.
So you and Rusty have known each other. You've had the longest relationship of anybody in the band, really.
Yeah.
So you were playing in Benzie Creek.
Just turned 17. I met Rusty.
Yeah. So you were in the band first, right?
In which band?
You were in Benzie Creek first.
Yeah, not Poco, no.
Right. But you were in Benzie and Rusty joined after.
Yeah,
we
recruited Rusty. I remember going to the store where he was working, guitar store. He was working in the guitar store, and me and the bass player in the band, Joe, went in there. We'd heard about Rusty. Went in there and we recruited him, and it worked. It worked.
Sure.
It was great.
Sure. So I'm gonna try to talk to Rusty about this too, because this is always one of the things that and when I put that little mini documentary thing together, one of the things I got fixated on was, if Rusty gets that phone call and says, no, I got to work on Monday, I can't come do it. None of this happens.
That's right. Yeah.
None of this happens. So they call Rusty to come and play on the Buffalo Springfield record, and he comes out to the West Coast, and that conversation starts, and then at some point you got a call.
At some point I got a call. Yeah, they were cutting tracks. Rusty and Richie and Jimmy. They were doing the Springfield, but they were also cutting extra tracks for stuff they thought they'd do later.
Right. So they were.
I played on one of them. That's how I got in the band. I played on one of them, and it kind of turned into the band.
So at some point you got a call as well. We're doing this thing, and would you be interested in it?
Yes.
So what do you think about when you get that phone call?
Oh God, I think I finally achieved, finally got to what I wanted to do in music. Finally got there. And I was so thankful and so scared to death.
But you know, a lot of people get that call. That's one of the great things about being, 21, 22, 23, when you get that call, is that you're not thinking about, I've got to be at work on Monday or I'm going to lose my job, or, what's my wife going to think, or, am I going to, it definitely happened at the right time.
I don't think I'd even
right
turned
call.
20 yet. I didn't think I'd turned 20 yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 19, I think.
So, was there any culture shock? I mean, you were born and raised in Colorado, right?
No, I was born in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
Raised half in Oklahoma and half in Colorado, California.
So coming to Los Angeles at the point in time that you did, from having lived in Oklahoma and Colorado your whole life, kind of feel like that had to be a little weird, right?
Weird. It was different. It took some getting used to, getting accustomed. I was an Okie, born and bred, and I'm still a Sooner fan. I'm a huge Sooner fan to this day. We both are.
He recruited.
That's usually how that works.
Going against him is divorce.
The best football team in college sports, man.
That's usually how it works, man. I married a Red Sox fan, and you don't get in the house wearing pinstripes. It doesn't work that way. But so I mean, everything. A lot of bands when they start out, there's a lot of hungry years when you're trying to get some traction, and you guys kind of came right out of the gate with a record deal, and you were making records.
Yeah, we had some hungry times. So
sure,
yeah.
But a lot of bands work to get to the point that you kind of came out of the gate at. So you were able to get on the road early on, and
I think there's a song in that the Hungry Times. I think there's a song in that, man.
I think there is. Times. We're going to edit that part out, and we're going to work on that after we're done.
So a good title, man.
So I've got a picture I'm going to show you, and I'll show it to you guys too here from the early times.
Yeah.
I'll show it to y'all first, because I don't think this has seen a lot of circulation.
Uh-oh.
Hopefully that's in the frame. If not, I'll post it in the comments.
Look all right.
Do you have any memories of this?
Vaguely. I remember that look. I remember before I grew my beard, I remember just having a stash,
He looks like he got caught sneaking contraband onto the band.
They caught me off guard there.
I think that's the only picture I've ever seen him in that looked not good. I mean, this man does not know how to take a bad picture.
Sure.
I want a picture of that.
I'll send this
as
to you.
evidence.
So when you say not good, I'm kind of seeing a deer in the headlights.
Exactly. Exactly. Because this man always looks like there.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you do that?
He's a cool customer.
That's
how it works.
I'm like,
I don't know. I don't know.
I love that picture, because it literally looks like, you just got past the sentry. The guy who wasn't supposed to let you on the bus with the case of beer. It's like, I got it. I snuck to the college dorm with, I'm good to go. But, I've kind of started talking to Rusty about this, and maybe you have some memories of this too, but, have you guys seen the Cameron Crowe movie, Almost Famous?
Well, it's been a long time. I did see it, but it's been a long time.
Well, I mean, it's 20 years old this year.
Yeah.
So it goes back a ways. But
I don't remember it that well.
There's a lot of references to Poco in that movie.
Oh,
because, whether you remember or not, Cameron wrote an article about Poco in 1973 that was, there's a lot of references to what happened during the writing of that article, and his relationship with the band and what happened. And there's a quote here from an interview that he did. Somebody asked him what the first band he ever profiled was, and he said Poco. I profiled Poco for Rolling Stone. And they asked him what that experience was like, and he said, Poco was the first experience where you let down the person you were writing about, and it was somebody you really liked. I spent all this time writing about Poco and interviewed everybody endlessly, and they were like, Rolling Stone really wants to do a big story on us, and I assured them that they did, because that's what I'd been told. Are you sure? Because we're not big enough, and we thought we'd be bigger by now. They really want to do it, and I kept saying, yeah. And I spent all this time on the story, and then the editors cut it way down, and the headline was, Poor Poco, they were the next big thing years ago. So I had to take the magazine to the band when the article was published, because they knew when I was getting it, and they wanted me to bring it over, and it was this terrible thing where I had to say, And here's this article that we worked for weeks on that basically suggested that, you were
Yeah.
struggling to get your career off the ground.
Yeah.
And that was all around the time that, everything was happening with, Richie starting to get frustrated with, the fact that you were kind of beating your head against the wall and it just seemed like you could never get off the ground floor.
We had a lot of things I can look back on and say, boy, we've done that different. A couple of things.
Tell him the story.
Which one?
Woodstock?
Woodstock.
Oh, God. Have you heard
Right,
the
yeah.
Woodstock story then?
You were supposed to play at
We were
Woodstock and
supposed
you
to
played
play
at high school gym
high school
instead.
gym in Hollywood. Our manager at the time said, "This is a much better gig. That you don't know what that's going to be like at all, man.
Mhm.
This is a sure thing in Hollywood. You got to do this, man." And they made us do that gig over at Woodstock.
The check's already in the bank. We can't cancel.
Yeah. I'll
That's
never
just-
forget that. That could have changed the whole career, Vocal's whole career, man.
Well, every day you wake up and you make decisions that could change your whole life.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it until you're down the road far enough to look back on things and go,
But there's none any bigger than that for us.
Yeah,
There's none any bigger than that for us, I don't think.
yeah, if I hadn't gotten the car to go to work that day, I wouldn't have hit that tree or whatever.
Yeah.
There's little things like
Yeah.
that come up all the time. But I mean, you guys, some of my favorite work is the period between, Crazy Eyes and Indian Summer. I love those records.
Yeah.
So Timmy decides to take the offer from the Eagles in '77, and and you wound up. Did you make a conscious decision to come here for work, or was it were you just trying to
What?
Why you left the band and
Why I
came
left
here?
Poco?
Well, you ended up in Nashville after Poco was over, and you were
Yeah.
Because I remember we had a conversation about this years and years and years ago.
I'm trying to remember what brought me to Nashville. I can't remember if I had a connection or not. I just can't remember. Something brought me here, though.
Yeah, well, when we talked about this before a long time ago, you had said that you'd been on the road for 10 years at that point, and you really wanted to start working your way into doing session work
Right.
because you could sleep in your own bed at night,
Right.
and you wouldn't have to wake up in a bus somewhere and not know
And I
where
had
you
some
were.
connections in Nashville. Our
Yeah.
sound guy that did all of our Poco tours and stuff lives here in Nashville, and he
Mhm.
was a connection for me. So that I think that's why I made the decision.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, Debbie, were you born here? Did you live here all your life?
No, Massachusetts.
My dad was military.
Uh-huh.
So I lived everywhere. I mean, we went from Fort Worth, Texas, where I was born, to South Ruislip, England, and lived
Wow.
there until I was just 6, and we moved to Little Rock, Arkansas. So
was a
imagine
big
a
shock.
3-foot tall little girl with hair down below her rear end and a British accent in Little Rock, Arkansas. I fit right in.
Yeah, right.
I feel like there's a whole other book in that. Right there.
Yeah, really.
But after I got married the first time, the only other time, my husband at the time was from Massachusetts, and we moved up there, and I lived up there and then had 3 kids,
I love
and
Massachusetts.
then my sister was down here in Nashville. She had moved to from Louisiana here to do music, and she opened up a country cafe, and she wanted me to come down and help her run it. So the place I was working up north was starting to go under. I knew it was going bad, and so I came on down here, and the restaurant didn't work out, but me staying in Nashville did. It's embarrassing how we met.
Well, and I remember you told me once that you didn't really know who Poco was.
Oh no,
not really,
that
no.
was hilarious.
She knew a song, and she didn't know it was Poco.
No, I didn't recognize them when we met. We arranged to meet for dinner, and we went out for about 3 weeks. And he decided to make this big opening, that he had kept this big secret. So he told me,
I was in a band,
I haven't
yeah.
been honest, I'm
didn't tell
actually in a
the musician.
band, and it's called Poco. And I went,
She didn't know the band.
okay, and he's like, Poco. And I'm like,
Well, there's kind of there's some social there's kind of some unspoken, unwritten social rules for musicians, and especially in Nashville, because in other places there's there's still a bit of an enigma about being a musician. People still think it's cool, but you know, in a town like Nashville, when you've got, you know, Roger Miller and Waylon Jennings
Right.
sitting at the table next to you at the
Right.
pantry, you know, because they've been up all night doing pills and they're just trying to get something in their stomachs.
Right.
You know, I think Nashville people are kind of desensitized to it.
Right, yeah.
So it's not really so much of a thing here, you know.
Yeah.
But
It
so-
was worse than that. I did not like musicians. I had made myself a promise not to date
She
a
had been
musician.
involved with a musician before, and it was awful. turned
It
out
was
awful.
terrible. So
So
he
this-
ends up
yeah.
singing "Crazy Love" to me in the restaurant to make me
And she knew the
understand that he
song.
was in a band that was actually known.
That's
She
so
knew
funny.
the song, I mean, she knew the
So
song.
at least you know that he wasn't, you know, like trying to play up his, you know, his prior, you know, successes in the.
No.
Oh, and he knew I wasn't, you know, somebody going, ooh, I want to be, you know,
No.
in with the band people.
Well, and that's kind of the cool part of it,
Yeah.
because you know, when you're a musician, you always have to wonder,
Yeah.
you know, about your partner.
Do they
in that
just like
respect.
me for
you know, are
my
they only in this
successes, or-
because they think, you know, or are they going to be gone if anything goes bad down
Yeah,
the road?
right, yeah.
You know, it's kind of always in the back of your mind, and if that's not a factor, then you don't have to think
No,
about it.
Yeah.
I married him in spite
In spite of, in spite of my
that he was a musician.
That's pretty awesome. That's awesome. So George and I met the first time when I was in town in 1999, 98 or 99, something like that. I had done this record a couple of years before that, and I was playing a showcase here at what used to be the Tower Records. And you know, I know you and I had talked, and you were coming, and I didn't know this until John Rosenbaum told me, but John had told, you know, long story short, George and Rusty were both coming to the show,
Rusty,
and I
yeah.
had no idea if they were on good terms or not, so I was a little freaked out. I was like, what's about to happen? Because I saw
Of course
Rusty
we were
come
on
in
good
one
terms.
side and you come in. Because I mean, you know, this was, you know, years after the Legacy thing had come and gone, and you know, I'd seen the band in the time since, and I knew you weren't there. So that's probably my last actual experience with stage fright, is watching you guys both walk in the door and wondering, like, what's about to happen here right now? This could be awesome and it could be terrible.
Yeah.
But then you and I had dinner at a Mexican restaurant, like, you know,
Yeah,
not long
Mexican,
after that,
of course,
because
yeah.
I know how much you love Mexican
I love
food.
Mexican food.
But, you know, you still come out and play Wildwood. You know, you still come out and play when the band is in town,
Whenever I
which is
can, I'll
awesome.
play. I love to play, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we're hoping we can do it again. We're
I
hoping
hope
that
so.
you know the tides turn and we can get back out here and do this again.
I'd
But,
love to. I'd love
you
to.
know, folks were, you know, somebody asked the question and then somebody else asked the question, and I was like, you know what? I know how to get to the bottom of this, so I figured I'd get to the bottom of this.
I would love to. I'd love to see the fans again. I love the fans.
Well, and they love you too, man. That's why we're having this conversation.
Thank you.
So, y'all, George and Debbie are doing just fine. Tomorrow's Debbie's birthday. George is in good spirits.
Yes.
You know, send Debbie a note if you're feeling like it and say hello and happy birthday. And we'll talk to y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Living